Hello, thanks for stopping by. This is Pinball Hall of Fame, the Williams Collection for the Xbox 360, developed by Farsight Studios and published by Crave Entertainment in 2009. It was released on some other systems as well, the 3DS, the PS2, the PSP, the PS3, and the Wii. Probably most curious about the Wii version because the controls generally are different when you play those games. So we have a pretty decent video pinball game, and it works to try and recreate the pinball arcade experience. You actually are inside a pinball hall, and you just wander around, select your desired table, and start playing. You get a few different ways you can play. You can play in a tournament, you can play what's called the Williams Challenge, and you can just select a table and play. Some of the tables, though, are going to naturally be free play, and other tables require credits. You begin the game with 20 credits, and when you start accomplishing goals at the various tables, you're going to earn more. Once you get 100 credits, you can spend 100 to unlock free play mode on one of the locked tables. That just takes away the need for using credits. You can also get some additional skins for your pinball. You can play an inverted version of a table. You can also remove tilt detection. I've unlocked free play on 2 tables so far, and I'm pretty close to unlocking a 3rd, so making some progress, but not absolute. We have 13 tables available in the game, and they're based on actual Williams tables, and these tables existed all the way back to 1970. I think you're going to find that the tables are all vibrant and bright, with all the flashing lights that you would imagine. I assume they're designed to be fairly good replicas of the original source tables, although the video version you have here is most likely cleaner in its appearance because it hasn't been getting beaten on for 50 years. You use the left and right shoulder buttons of your controller to move your paddles, and you use the X and B buttons to change the type of view that you have of the table. You have an up-close view, and you have a few different full table views as well. Although, 1 or 2 of the tables, I swear, they seem to not have as many full view table options. That's generally how I play. I swear there's a difference on some tables, that's all. It's just some of the angles don't seem to be far out enough, compared to some of the other tables anyway. The tables we have here, they're not the typical type of branded tables you would kind of see in other collections. There's no rock band or movie franchise associated with any of these tables. The branding is all for original classic pinball tables themselves, and I guess that probably would help with licensing fees. First we have the Black Knight, and it was a 1980 cabinet, and it has all the audio samples to match. It's all grainy, and you can hardly understand some of it, and I love it. There's a sword running up the center of the paint, and there's a short playfield at the bottom. One of the ramps leads to a small playfield at the top, and there are 2 flippers up there that you can utilize to keep the ball upstairs. There's only 1 round bumper on this table, though, on the top section. I'm pretty sure it's called the bumper. I know a lot of tables have them in a cluster, and they bounce the balls back and forth. Here we just have 1 large one. I feel like the airbrushed look of the surface and the colors here, it makes me think of the magazine Heavy Metal from the 80s. The art just kind of felt similar to me, in that ballpark anyway. Next we get the Funhouse. It was out in 1990. This one is unnaturally creepy. I don't think it's supposed to be, but it's one of those vaudeville ventriloquist dummies as a theme, and when I see that, I think horror movie. It's a decent enough table, and the large dummy head in the middle talks to you as you play. It's not as annoying as I first thought it was going to be, and it feels unique enough, and I actually had a few good runs on this table. There's also a spot right behind the dummy's head where you can get consistent points if you get a ball up there, so that's fun. Gorgar is a table that has a Dungeons & Dragons feel to it. There's a large red demon in the center, and there are a bunch of giant snakes around the edges, and there are some adventurers here with swords, and that kind of rounds out the feeling. It was a 1979 table, and although there is some spoken audio associated with it, it is definitely primitive, and it's certainly reflective of that era. There's not a ton of audio here, but you can get it to say, "Me got you," and that was really amusing to hear when I first triggered it. I think it's a solid table in this collection. Pinbot is from 1986. It's a robot outer space themed table. What a generic outer space theme would be, I think, if it was designed in the 70s. I know it's a mid-80s table, but the graphics feel more mid-70s to me. There's a fairly open mid-table zone with ramps on the upper left and right, and the table feels relatively open. And the middle top actually opens up, and there are 2 targets you can actually get pinballs into. There's a large square of lights in the top center that you can get lit up, of course, and that's a lot of what pinball is about anyway, just a bunch of crazy sounds and lightning. This is a pretty great table. Space Shuttle is from 1984, and yeah, the Space Shuttle was a big deal in the 80s, and it feels appropriate to have a theme table like this. When I first selected it, I really recognized the music at first that was playing, or it felt like I recognized the table. Usually the music in these games are fast, and the tracks are varied. This one that was playing when I actually moved to the table, there was this Iron Maiden sounding feel to it. It wasn't a specific Iron Maiden song, but if you've listened to Iron Maiden, I think you can make the connection. When you do start the game, the table music changes, but it's outer spacey at its core, I suppose, and this was the first table that I completed all the tasks on, and this let me unlock another table for free. I liked this Space Shuttle table more than I thought I would. It had a few good multi-ball runs that I ran through on my first time through, and it was the first table that I noticed where the ball was smooth for most of the session, but there was one point in it where it seemed to be a little less smooth. I imagine when a lot of things are going on at once, it could affect the movement. Also, I am playing this on an aging Xbox 360, I suppose. It could be showing sign of its age. Taxi is from 1988, and the table does have audio samples, but it still has an older classic feel to it. For some reason, there's a lot of cat noises when I play, a lot of cats screaming. And there's this one audio clip that really sounds like it came out of a 1978 episode of Battlestar Galactica. Overall, I find this table to be a little dull for my sensibilities. Whirlwind was from 1990, and it's a tornado-themed table with a relatively open front playing area, and these spinning discs that magnetically can grab and redirect your pinball as it shoots by. It's pretty clever, and it's a little bit of extra chaos that I kind of wasn't expecting. This one's okay, and the subject makes sense to me for a pinball table in the early 90s, late 80s. They're supposed to be fast and frenetic. This one qualifies. Next we have Firepower from 1980. It's a space shooter that apparently had a print run of over 17,000 tables. After some internet research, the normal number of tables for a run of a new machine is somewhere, they say, usually around 5,000 tables. So this one is considered to have a pretty high run. I guess the largest run of a pinball table was just over 20,000, and that was for the Addams Family table. So, yeah, 17,000 seems pretty large. It's a 1970s spaceship styling sort of a game, and the graphics resemble a ship from the game Defender. At least, that's what I see. This one's pretty good. Sorcerer is a pinball table that is another Dungeons & Dragons kind of throwback. The early to mid 80s had a lot of Dungeons & Dragons stuff going on, so it's no surprise this one exists. We get a third flipper higher up on the table, and if you can catch the ball just right, you can keep that ball up at the top to get all those bumpers in that cluster. You get 3 bumpers at the top. This one has a path and a ramp at the top of the table too, but there are no real long ramps that wrap all the way down to the lower part of the screen. We get a lot of lights instead. And overall the table is very red to me. It's just tons of red. It's solid gameplay. It's decent. We get the Tales of the Arabian Nights. It's from 1996, and it was one of the first tables that I played, and I really like all the sounds that it has. There's also this area at the top right that'll magnetically grab a pinball and swirl it around in a circle before it lets it go. I like that a lot. It also has a very active digital screen when you hit certain targets. This is probably one of the tables that I gravitate towards when I start this game up. I really like this one. Medieval Madness is from 1997. It's got heavy metal music alongside its gameplay. You kind of expect it, I think, with the medieval subject. We get a castle at the top back of the screen, and there's a dragon over one of the ramps on the right. The cartoony graphics we have here, it's another Dungeons & Dragons throwback from the early 80s, and what's not to like about that? No Good Gophers is next. That's from 1997, and it's a table with cartoon gophers on a golf course, it seems. A lot of cartoons on the paint related to hot rod golf carts. I guess it's a Caddyshack type of a style, and the gophers get into trouble, and there's chaos that ensues as you play the game. This is the one that is a little visually hard for me to follow compared to some of the other tables. It's just not that exciting to me. It's okay, but not that great. Jive Time is the last table, and it's from 1970. And I was unable to play this one yet, because in order to play this, you have to win the Williams tournament. This is the big unlock of the game, it seems. But in order to do that, you got to get really good at all the other tables. It's like an ascending level of difficulty, and I just haven't got through it yet. I like this one overall. I think the only real bummer I had with this game in general is the fact that there are actual filler tables in the virtual arcade that fill the space just when you're looking around for tables to play. You see them in the background. And I hate passing over a table that I can't play, because that table just doesn't exist. There's a game called, well, a fake game called Space Colony, there's Inferno, Castlemania, and Supernova. And there are also some non-existent generic video game towers that fill up the space as well. I'm really bummed to see a pinball table in a pinball game that's fake. You can't play it. It's unfortunate. I think this is a solid pinball experience on the 360. I just don't like the occasional slowdown you get when certain tables get busy. I kind of figured they would have worked that out before the release. I also know I'm saying this using older hardware, and it's possibly just my system, but I believe most of the tables, if not all of them, they're definitely playable on some more modern video pinball systems, but I'll look at those tables on newer systems later and see how it goes. Well, that is all I have today for Pinball Hall of Fame, the Williams collection for the Xbox 360. I think this is a great selection of tables for the price. I paid like $15 a few weeks back for this game used, which is much cheaper than if you were to buy tables as singles in one of the more modern video platforms that they have out there. You can go to Steam and you can get a couple of platforms. The platforms are usually free, but they charge you for each individual table, and those can be from $6 to $10 or more. And there's a lot of tables out there, so a $15 value for 13 tables is excellent. Well, thanks for stopping by for a look, and I hope to catch you on another video.